the Yankees offense came back and responded against a good pitcher, a guy who's had a great career and the same free agent I'm talking about right now. You just have to be better in those situations. That's kind of my take here is you have to be the team that's going to come back out and respond to a Yoan Moncada home run that ties the ball game up like that. Like that's what you want to see from this White Sox offense. They haven't shown the ability to do that to the fullest extent that the Yankees have to this point, but there was some fight back and forth here before it got to a point where it was totally out of hand. I mean, 7 runs, that's a decent amount of offense for a baseball team.
You should win that baseball game when you score 7 runs.
You should. And so you got to be better somewhere along the lines if you're getting beat by a score of 15-7.
Well, I mean, it's
clean it up.
It's pretty simple then. What you got to do is you got to throw fucking strikes, and you can't walk the bases loaded when you've got, Aaron Judge coming up. Or I'm sorry, Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, you can't walk the bases loaded. It's just that simple.
No, you can't. And that's the other thing too. And we talked about this a little bit in the SoxOnTap group chat, and Johnny had some fun with it every single at bat. The Aaron Judge home run. That's what I want to see from White Sox players. Now, I can't go after Yoan Moncada at this very moment, Steve, because of the home run that he had tonight. But when you talk about these guys as a White Sox fan, when you have the discussions that you see take place on Twitter.com about Yoan Moncada or about Eloy Jimenez or name your player on the White Sox, you want those sexy highlights. You want those big moment home runs. As a fan of the team, when you just get acquainted to a prospect or a guy who's coming up through your system, like a Yoan Moncada or even like an Aaron Judge, you want to see those big moments and shine on that stage type shit. It's really hard as a White Sox fan, just for me personally, and I'm just going to ask you this. When you watch a team like the Yankees and you see what they did today, right in front of your face, there's a 2 home run game from Stanton. Aaron Judge fucking puts one on your goddamn concourse. It's like, we go to a lot of White Sox games. We watch this team every day. At what point over the last few years have you seen those big star moments where it's like the lineup just pops off for a bunch of home runs all at once? It feels like it doesn't happen consistently, and it feels like when teams like the Yankees walk in to guaranteed rate, they just fucking hit. And then, warning track ball after warning track ball after warning track ball. It gets fucking tiring, dude. And that's the problem that I have with some of these guys. These are all guys that have been signed to extensions. And if you want to go into the money is spent conversation, that's what they should be doing. And that's where that's the problem I have with it, is the fact that the guys that you paid aren't doing that shit enough.
At the end of the day, it comes down to you have real organizations across Major League Baseball, and then you have little mom and pop shops. We know where the White Sox fall.
But Steve, can you honestly sit there and say 7th in payroll?
Yes, I
say it's a mom and pop shop.
Yes,
then
I can.
Then you have a problem with all 23 plus other teams behind that?
I have a problem on multiple different levels. So the resource allocation, when like 40%.
Well, that's a big discussion. That's a big discussion.
Okay, so that matters right there. But also mom and pop shop in the sense that this player development system for going on 20 years or so has not been good. It is not what the Yankees see. The Yankees, when they bring guys up, Aaron Judge has, he had his initial struggles during his rookie season. Since then, he has been a star when he has been on the field. They've gotten production out of Gleyber Torres. You can talk about, has he lived up to what people thought he was going to be when that trade was made? That's a fair discussion.
Probably not, but he's still a productive MLB player.
And then they go and they bring in major league veterans and they make them better. DJ LeMahieu has been better since he got to the New York Yankees. This comes back to what I say about them being a mom and pop shop, because they don't have a good development system. They don't have the infrastructure in place. You look at teams like the Yankees, and I'm sorry, the road to the American League pennant still goes through Houston. I don't know if you've been watching this. This team's won 10 in a row. They literally went up to Minnesota and they dick slapped the shit out of the Twins today here.
Well, I'll go back to something I said on our season preview show, Steve. And I don't want to make it seem as if what we're doing right now doesn't matter, but to me, the real measuring stick this year is past that first round of the playoffs. This is the good measuring stick, right? These are the series that I'm really tuned into. How do you respond to this now if you're a White Sox club? Because once again, in a playoff series type feel against the New York Yankees on a weekend, the weather's warmed up, and you've got Jose Abreu hitting routine grounders to shortstop like it's his fucking job right now. Those are the guys that have to show up. This isn't to me. It's not a managerial tactic here or there. It's not this guy didn't make this one pitch. It's also like, where are your star players? Where's your former MVP right now?
No, you're right. Look, as long as Jose Abreu continues to hit the ball on the ground, and as long as Yasmani Grandal, keeps hitting the ball on the ground into the shift, this team isn't going to do a fucking thing. That's just what it is.
But Steve,
if they're not going to hit, if they're not going to provide power in the middle part of this lineup, maybe you can win this division and winning 84, 85 games.
But you're not getting past the Yankees. You're not getting past Houston. You're not getting past the Yankees. You're not going there. I'm not meaning to be negative here. This team can have a magical run. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But the facts that we see right now, Steve, is
there were systemic problems here.
Yes, there are. But we also have one real thing that needs to get figured out. It's the star players, the guys that were sold to you as phenoms, the guys that were brought in as part of this thing. There were T-shirts with all these guys' last names on them and pray for the league for so long. And if we're sitting here right now still talking about how, we're not quite there yet, and those are the guys that the organization chose to invest in, bringing back Jose Abreu, giving money to Yohan Moncada, giving money to Luis Robert, giving money to Eloy Jimenez. If you want to make that argument that, we should have spent even more, that's fine. I'm taking this a different way. They think they spent the money. Where's the onus on the guys that aren't providing me highlight reel home runs at a more consistent rate? Yet everybody wants to seem to get mad at Lurie Garcia and Gavin Sheets and a couple other things. Yeah, that's frustrating. I can appreciate that.
So when you talk about, guys like Eloy and Yohan not living up to expectations, that's where it is a developmental problem. And that's where I come back to the infrastructure not being there, not being in line with teams like the Yankees, not being in line with someone like the Astros or the Rays that we see consistently in the postseason year in and year out, and teams that get the most they can out of their players. Look at the Astros. Look at that core group of guys. Okay, their core group of guys have produced at the major league level. Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa when he was there, Yordan Alvarez now. You've got Tucker. Now, they just keep bringing guys up through their system. And
what? The one that bothers me, Steve, is Miles Straw, who comes up in this system. He's not like the biggest name, right? Produces there, gets traded over to Cleveland, and is now a thorn in the White Sox side in the division. But yet,
because the Astros are a smart organization that utilizes resources correctly.
I think Miles Straw is the part of a winning ball club. The guy gets on base. He plays an excellent defense. He hits the ball. He just does things that become annoying. He's a good ball player. And then they can trade that away and continue to help their organization. We haven't been able to even trade guys away through this to kind of help out what we're doing outside of Dane Dunning.
Because one organization knows what they're doing and the other doesn't.
Correct. So that's where I want to go back to it. I don't know if it's really I honestly don't know. 7th in the league in payroll. I don't know if the payroll's the problem. Maybe it's a little bit of allocation
It's both.
Where that is. Oh yeah, hell, I'd love them to spend another $100 million and just go all in, but we know that ain't gonna fucking happen, dude. Look, so you've got to work within your constraints, and you've got to be able to win.
The area that nobody talks about, everybody only wants to look at that payroll number when the Jerry Reinsdorf relatives, want to come at me on Twitter.com and say that I'm being too mean to the 86-year-old asshole that's been ruining my life for almost 4 decades. The fact of the matter is this, okay? People only want to look at that Major League payroll. They don't want to look at the fact that for 20 years, he neglected the Latin American market. He refuses to sign 16-year-olds out of the Dominican Republic and Venezuela. Those are the guys that turn into your superstars. That he wants to spend money on 23-year-old Cubans, okay? Which, yeah, you can get a Luis Robert that way, but, then you get guys like Gilbert, like Gilbert Sanchez.
Diversify it.
He refuses up until this past year. He has refused to draft high school position players. Again, that's if you look across Major League Baseball, the overwhelming majority of superstars are position players that were drafted out of high school. He refuses to do those things because he seems to be morally opposed to giving multi-million-dollar deals to teenagers. And because of that, the infrastructure and the continuous pipeline that we were told was going to be there isn't. So when I talk about this thing being a mom and pop shop, that's what I'm referring to.